but I choose the most interesting ones and give them a shot. Today, we're gonna cover the worst ones. Okay, first game is easily the most terrible game I played from February. Easily. The game's called I Want to Quit My Job, and it's just terrible. Awful. So the only thing you have to do in this game is collect 5 relics and escape the monster. Which, doesn't that sound familiar? Like a Slender Man game that came out like 15 years ago? This game is basically an asset flip Slender Man. It's just basically that. So the monster that's chasing you is just a man in a wolf mask, and the model is just stretched out so he has long limbs, and that's it. That's what's chasing you. That's really the game. You collect 5 things, and a model chases you. A stretched out model, mind you, chases you throughout this like maze that is just like a bunch of just squares planted down on some blank map. You might be wondering why I'm being so harsh on this game, and it's because the developer's selling this with $7 on Steam, 7 USD. And I timed how long this game took me. I sped up the footage and timed it, and essentially, it's about 9 to 10 minutes, including main menu stuff and some text stuff. So basically, you're paying almost $1 a minute to play this game. And something that's a little bit scummy is that at the very beginning of the game, you get this block of text telling you how this game is near and dear to the developer because they've gone through this experience of these night terrors. But then they just have this asset flip and they're selling it for $7. So it makes it come off as that the developer tried to use this emotional story to add value to the game when the game's only 9 minutes long and just a bunch of assets that are just preloaded online. This was the only game I played from February that I refunded because I genuinely felt ripped off by it. It's the only one. It's so bad. Do not buy this garbage. It's not even fun garbage to play for fun and getting some laughs out of it. It's just trash. Don't buy it. It's not worth $7. At the end of all this, there's just nothing redeeming about this game in my opinion. It's just a waste of time. It's not even funny bad. It's just bad. So the next game isn't terrible, but it's just not good. It's not even okay in my opinion. It's called Escape the Tower. Essentially, it's an escape room game with spooky horror vibes, and that's pretty much it. It has a couple endings. There's some basic puzzles, but it's just such a basic bare bones game where it's fun for a little bit, a couple minutes max, but overall it's just not really that entertaining. The game is full of pre-made assets, which a lot of indie devs have to do it. It's just how you use them, and in this case, they just use them in the most basic way possible. They have a body that's just T-posing on you. It's just very bare bones. And then the scares are just very basic as well, where you just kind of just show up, spook you a little, not even that much, and that's it. Ooh! This dude, great. Okay, what? Oh, hey, buddy. Oh shit! So the horror aspect of the game is barely there in my opinion. I do give this game some credit though. It is funny and self-aware at times where it lets you have a gun and you're trapped on this tower and you can use that gun to shoot the bomb and see what happens, and it's actually one of the endings. It's actually funny. So I do give the game credit that it can be funny and self-aware. Shoot! Bad end 2! I got the bad end! In the end, the game took me a total of 20 minutes max because I'm a dumbass with puzzles and I want to see all the endings. So overall, the game doesn't have that much playtime and the dev is selling it for $30, I think. Overall, the game isn't terrible. It's just not good. It's not even okay. It should have been a free-to-play game. I think it was a good test for the developer to release this game, but not for like the price they were asking for like $30 for this very bare bones game. Thin Line is not a horror game that's just not good and it's very bare bones, but I think it's like the developer's first attempt to actually having a game. And when I say bare bones, there's practically nothing in this game really to do except a couple interactables. There's no ambient noise, and it's really eerie in a weird way where it's pure silence. Okay, this is really weird. Like, you usually expect like footstep sounds, something. It is kind of funny because there are some sound effects for some things in the game. So you have this dead silence broken up by this sudden noise, and it's just, I don't know, it's just this eerie thing about the game. Instead of just having an ambient noise playing all the time like a buzzing light, just silence, and then you hear this sound. Okay, that's a little the fuck? The rest of the game is just filled with long walking segments where you kind of have no idea where to go. You just kind of have to walk to find out. And then also you get chased by some kind of monster at some point. You don't know why or like what the monster is really. But the weirdest thing about it is that the monster has footsteps when you don't have footsteps. The monster has footsteps, so there's some other noises happening, I guess. This dude gets footsteps, but I don't! At the end of the day, I don't want to be too harsh on this game because there are genuine criticisms about it, but I think this is the first time the devs making a game, and also they recognized that this product isn't good enough to be sold, so they made it free, which I can respect that this is practice. I think the criticism should still be given, but I don't want to like just lay into it because I think the dev genuinely tried to make a decent game. Okay, the final game we're going to talk about is Fright, and I'm so conflicted on it because I wanted to like this because I could tell the dev put in a lot of effort into this game, but it just ended up not being good. It just didn't turn out good at all. Fright is your typical horror game where you have to go around the house, find items, and then put them in the right place. It's basically the whole game. This is basically the whole game. You find something, you put it somewhere. It's one big fetch quest. And one of the most terrible things about the game, one of the most annoying, is that you have to look everywhere for these items because it's just randomly put in places that you have to check. And the dev put so many interactable places in the game where you have to check everything. It's just so time consuming and you have to click so much just to find a quest item essentially. And this is basically the whole game, and it's occasionally broken up by a jump scare that is a little bit too long every time. Have you checked out my butt? Oh! Basically, the jump scares were just thrown in there to break up the gameplay because that's the only difference when you're going from location to location, and every time the jump scare is so long for no reason. What makes it difficult for me to dislike this game is that I could tell the dev actually put in effort into this game because they did work on how they did lighting and everything, how they focused on some sound design to make it creepy, the ambient noise. They did put in some effort to make this a playable game that was spooky. It just failed really bad. It's just the results just didn't end up to be good with the amount of effort they put in my opinion. Oh, that's kind of creepy. Oh! At the end, I wouldn't recommend any of these games to buy or even play because Thin Line is free. It still feels like a waste of time. These games range from just purely terrible to they tried, but the results just didn't end up good. Overall, I just can't say I enjoyed most of these that much. They may have had some highlights, but overall, I think they were just unfun and just not worth the money at all.